We're here with Wayne Jacobs, Executive Director of Ex-Offenders for Community Empowerment. We're talking about his experience at the House of Correction. Uh, Mr. Jacobs, would you like to tell us about your experience at House of Correction?
Yes, well, I have two experiences. One as a juvenile, being over there in 1966. My other experience as I came back as an adult. While I was there as a juvenile, we had 23 hours locked in. The only time we was able to get out the cell was to go to chow, take showers, and that was about it. We didn't have blackout and all those kind of things as a juvenile. I came back.
Let me stop you right there for 1 second, Mr. Jacobs. What were the conditions like when you were a juvenile at the House of Correction? What were the general conditions?
Well, you know, when I first went there, the conditions were bad. As a juvenile, when I first went there, it was bad. You really never saw the jail as a juvenile. The only time you came out your cell was to go to child and come back. You never got a chance to see the whole jail. But from being on D1, you had a chance to see exactly, you know, what goes on that block. And at that time, conditions was deplorable then, and that was in '66.
Okay, and then your experience as an adult. Can you tell us what that was like and how the conditions were after all those years? After you went back, did the conditions get better?
No, I went back in '68. I only stayed there that time for about 2 months, and I mean, the hot water wasn't working. I was there for the winter, and the heat didn't work. We had no hot water. That was a normal condition over there. They was packing us in like we was on a slave ship. The cell was made for 2 people, and they started doubling up. And so I was there for 3 months, and I left. I got out, and I went back in '71. This time when I went back, I had a job as a block runner and clerk. I was on D2, and being on D2, you had a chance to really see how things is on other blocks. D2 was a classification block, always filthy. Half the time, water not working. Windows in the cell not working, putting people in ice cold cells. Those kind of things was going on. And at that time, while I was on D2 as the block clerk, the first black warden of the county prison was Warden Foreman. And at that time, the prison was taken to court for conditions. And they put together a lawsuit called the JVH, Jackson versus Hendricks. And this is when they first began to start block representatives for JVH to monitor the conditions that existed in the prisons at that time. While I was there, I became even more interested in the law. I was appointed to be the first JVH representative for D2. And my claim to fame, sitting on that committee, was the fact that our committee had a name, and it was called the Betterment Committee, which I named it the Betterment Committee because it's all about bettering the conditions, which never got better. It only got worse. Each year, each time I came back, I saw where conditions got worse and worse. They're dealing with the overcrowdedness in the other jails. So what they did was they took away the hospital at the House of Correction and turned it into a housing unit. Deplorable conditions. They had no phone. They never came out. They stayed in that position. By me working in the law clinic, I had a chance to witness those conditions. And what I started doing was bringing people from that deplorable condition, bringing them to the law clinic so they can get some service and be able to make phone calls. There was no phone up there. By working in the law clinic, I began to go over to the other side of the jail. That's where the women was housed at. And their place was even worse. The conditions over there were so bad that the women used to protest a lot over there, not going in their cells because why? It's too cold in their cells. And so from that experience, what I began to do was like I said, I began to get really deep into the law. By this time, I come back, and I was still, they put me back on the JVH committee, and we began to try to work to better the conditions, but how can you make a house or make a prison conditions better when the conditions in the jail had existed for so many years that is beyond repair.
Right.
It was beyond repair.
And let me interject this. So basically what you're saying is that throughout them years from the 60s on up to the last time that you were there, the conditions just continuously was getting worse.
Worse and worse.
And they were not being improved.
Right.
The plumbing was not being improved.
Right.
The heating was not being improved.
Right.
It was just getting worse.
Worse.
All right, Mr. Jacobs, that we really appreciate your interview and thank you for your time.